wanted to use really short.
Hello, this is Sam Smith here at the Christian Post. We're here with Jim Wallis, the founder and president of the Sojourners. Jim, you had announced your support, or that you're joining today a new coalition called the 90 Million Strong Campaign that fight to abolish the death penalty in the states. What impact do you think that this coalition is going to have?
Well, it's a new effort, and it's a good effort. It's going to get broader. It's not as broad as it needs to be yet. The things that change the country are things that bring people together across boundaries. Civil rights, voting rights, we got all sides finally. So we have to get, as I said, religious conservatives are joining this cause. Wheaton College had a big conference, I've been told, on the death penalty very recently. Shane Claiborne's all excited about that. Richard Viguerie and I are talking all the time. So I'm having long conversations, people from different parts of the political spectrum on other issues. But on this issue, this really is unfair. It picks on vulnerable people. It's so racially biased. And so that's wrong. For Christians, that's just wrong. And so this is another example of our racially biased criminal justice system, and many Christians believe that's wrong. After Ferguson, which has become kind of an eye-opening parable to the nation, a whole lot of white evangelicals like me are saying we can't continue this. So I think this movement is much broader than the groups here. These are some groups who are supporting it. That's great. I'm working with other groups. Movements are more important than organizations. So one organization, new coalition, I'm grateful for. I'll come anywhere with any group of people to talk about this issue.
You said that you find that opposition to death penalty is not just a liberal religious issue, but it's also a religious conservative issue. Can you talk about maybe how some religious conservatives might come out?
Well, again, there was a conference at Wheaton College. You should go and talk to them. This is racially biased. The single most important factor of who's on death row is race. I mean, we can't accept that any longer. People who are intellectually disabled or indigent are the ones on death row. This is wrong in terms of the poor and the vulnerable. We're told, our scriptures say, a society's integrity or righteousness is how you treat the most vulnerable. Death penalty does not put the worst crimes on trial. It's vulnerable people. And also with DNA evidence and bad prosecutions and bad lawyers, the number of people who have come off death row because they're now found to be innocent, only God knows how many people have been killed by the state wrongfully, and they tend to be the most vulnerable. So one of the lawyers made a powerful point. He said the criminal justice system shows our fallibility, our human fallibility. You and I would say human sinfulness. He said, unless we have a perfect system, it's going to be fallible, and we aren't perfect. We know that as Christians, we're fallible. So the racial sinfulness of this country is really reflected in who gets the death penalty. So as Christians, we just can't support that.
Now you had mentioned sinfulness, and you had released a statement that you think that death penalty violates the most sacred commitment to the life that God has created. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the Pope, Catholic social teaching, Catholic bishops for years have talked about a consistent ethic of life, where all of life is sacred. Every threat to life and human dignity is part of our consistent. I'm pro-life, a consistent pro-life ethic. So I think Catholic bishops are against the death penalty, have been for years, and many evangelicals have moved in that direction too, out of our life ethic of protecting the sacredness of life. And this idea of restorative justice is growing in Christian circles. It comes from indigenous people, comes from Mennonites, comes from lots of people. How restoring the break in society that crime does. How do you restore that break for all concerned? So restoring and not retributive is, I think, what we're looking for here. So it's a life ethic. It's restorative justice. It's all life is sacred. protecting the vulnerable in particular, being really opposed to racially biased decisions in our criminal justice system, either policing or enforcing the death penalty. So I think this is an issue that will pull people together across political boundaries. This isn't a left-right issue.